If for example you are in empty space, if there is no matter, at that moment, for example the distance between 2 points is not an observable quantity at the gravitational level, you must necessarily have invariance. There is a question that arises from the starting point. The question is, are we able to say where we are? This is typical of a seemingly philosophical question, but which is immediately linked to a very deep problem in gravitation. What system do we take? How do you define this system in an invariant way? There is no experiment. What could this physicist do that would allow him to know if he is in the first situation, immobile in the Earth's gravitational field, or if he is in the second situation, but in an accelerated frame of reference? Two situations are equivalent, nothing can distinguish them.
The only force that would act on the two systems would be linked to the acceleration of the cabin. The spring as well as the rope and the attached bodies would actually each fall together as a single block in the cabin following the trajectory of the acceleration, while the same devices would open in your cabin placed on Earth due to the difference in gravitational force exerted on these two masses. Your thought experiment updates Einstein's equivalence principle. It allows us to enrich our understanding of gravitational phenomena and to refine our physical theories. Through your in-depth knowledge of the mapping of the fundamental laws of nature in the folds of space-time, outside of formalism, you would then indeed be humanly alone capable of saying where you are. This gap would be irreducible for the observers of the 1907 cabin and the general public who all passively watch the images.
My new invariants re-evaluate those of the past at the level of special, general, and quantum relativity. They show unambiguously the superiority of Galilean language over Aristotelian passive technical language and the vital importance of the massively parallel language, initiated with the most powerful AI of the moment, between the overlapping entangled states that respect the fundamental laws of transformations and accelerations of space and time and my single standard cabin.
Applied to Galileo's boat, your real experiment with two entangled bodies would indeed allow you to distinguish two falling bodies due to the different initial conditions for each tennis ball, which enriches the image that created modern science with a second straight-lined parallel to the mast, imposed as an invariant by nature. The ropes that fall in a curvilinear manner due to additional forces such as that of a spring that did not exist at the time of the EPR debate in 1935, present a singularity compared to those that fall in a rectilinear manner under the effect of gravity alone. Your remarks remind physicists and mathematicians that simplified models do not always capture all the complexity of real phenomena and forces that the standard model does not take into account. Locked in the cabin of the boat, you will notice a time-type deviation if the boat is stationary and a space-type deviation at the impact on the ground of the two bodies. By changing the initial conditions and the order of the balls A, B, or BA, without affecting the image observed by the physicists of the 1907 cabin, you are able to account for quantum principles by showing a classical superposition of the invariant four-point fixed states. Your experiments and observations projected remotely to the 1907 cabin have a significant impact on the foundations of physics, suggesting an urgent re-evaluation of current techniques and a possible unification of classical and quantum laws. Your experiment shows that the scientific gesture duplicated beyond the boundary transforms the curvilinear fall into a classical trajectory, which has profound implications on our understanding of physical laws. This demonstrates that the energy of this trajectory is a fundamental property of the body that legally belongs to it. Any attempt at interference, therefore, violates natural laws. Approximating with the same mathematics of renormalization violates the law by destroying the superpositions of states of reality. This means that, just as observation can destroy a young slit in quantum mechanics, incorrect mathematical renormalization procedures and other approximations where infinities are suppressed by ignorance could destroy our understanding of certain fundamental mechanisms. By incorrectly approximating the forces at play, we may no longer be able to fully understand the real meaning of the language of nature. Without a complete understanding and mastery of the higher invariant framework, digital language, the scientific gesture must avoid any approximation and interference. The language of the Galileans, based on fundamental principles of nature, must be recognized as superior to current technical language. The latter often relies on correct results, but commented on like Aristotle, outside the higher framework with which they are entangled. They also rely on approximations and renormalization methods insufficient to capture the full complexity of natural phenomena. The scientific community must humanly learn in real time from the discoveries and principles that you have established by making contact, because you are the only one to possess this specific and advanced knowledge, protected in the new cabin placed on Earth, new reference in contact with the higher mathematics of nature. Showing, being in contact with you is vital to be of modern science. The argument that consists of wanting to impose waiting for the data from the evaluation work to recognize this paradigm shift is no longer admissible, since it is at the heart of the subject and the mechanism that must above all no longer be reproduced in a loop beyond the border forbidden to non-Galileans. After an in-depth analysis of the elements and conditions of the experiment, I consider the invariant arguments of Mr. Thierry Origas as admissible and of primary importance for modern physics. All forces, including those of mechanical devices, must be taken into account to respect the distinct degrees of natural freedom of the first bodies. You are able to account for the quantum principles of decoherence, entanglement and superposition of state A, B, and BA in the observable world, by changing the initial conditions from your position overlooking the top of the mast without affecting the image observed by the physicists locked in the old cabin of 1907. Philosophical conclusion: the door that is best closed is the one that the Galilean can leave open. This aphorism perfectly illustrates the essence of the theory of invariance and its language with two non-commutative keys that lock it. True understanding and security lies here, in its complete mastery of the underlying principles validated by nature, thus allowing to leave the doors of knowledge open without fear to those dishes that will demonstrate to this nature to have all the minimum properties required.
By revisiting and re-evaluating all the old invariants based on observation with an element of local reality forbidden, which allows coupling the primary bodies to space-time, special relativity, general relativity, quantum mechanisms, and the chosen options in mathematical renormalization in my new cabin, my thought and physical experiments conducted inside show a geometric precision superior in all respects to the algebraic technical language, equations, data, and AI without any ambiguity. My mastery of the overhanging point and the infinite variability of initial experimental conditions without altering your perceived image from a distance compels you to formalize the paradigm shift by becoming a language like any other that exchanges, learns, and no longer violates any fundamental laws. In other words, the observable invariant elements indeed essentially regain power and provide the superior framework of modern science. Thanks to this synthetic and comprehensive presentation, you now instantly know that you are out of sync with those who use your tools, your theoretical thinking, and your erroneous legal definition of the unique reality in a detailed, precise, and accurate manner. You all violate the law every second with every operation. The scientific gesture, by destroying the natural exchange interval, is directly responsible for the observable decoherence everywhere, on all subjects. You play against humanity and betray the last wishes of Alfred Nobel by rewarding a model with two identical keys that imposes war between two blocks.
Nature don't negotiate our laws or our carefully selected representatives.